honor a true Kanaka, Peter Kuiuku Keka. I am Dwayne Kiaina Medeiros, and I am honored to have been asked to do Papa Peter's eulogy. I met Papa when I was about 10 years old, when he and my mom, Vicky Tulia Keka, began their relationship. I respected Papa as an uncle figure, and he was cool with that. Papa gave me a nickname when I was young. He called me Small Man. I really liked that name because it gave me the status of being treated as an adult equal by Papa. But as time passed, as you can see, I have now grown to be a bigger man. Anyhow, as a youth, and I know Uncle Joe and the family, they're going to remember stuff that we spent time in. We enjoyed siesta, you know. As a youth, I remember camping in a summer with Papa and Mom and La Keka Ohana. We camped near Honokahau Harbor by Alula Bay. It was when the harbor was still in the beginning stage of construction, but only the first section was done. Well, during the coolie season, the coolie school would enter the harbor and the big uloa would come in too. Papa would catch a coolie and would use it as live bait. He hooked the coolie to his uloa kakele line he made, then rigged it to the dinghy he was in. And when the uloa took the bait, Papa's dinghy took him for a ride with him in it. And the only thing that stopped him was he tied it off to the buoy that was rigged over there. Anyway, let me catch up with what it's. Okay, and even I still remember going to school right from the campsite on a long 3-day weekends. So it was like natural to us, you know, camping and living in our natural environment. I miss those days and I will never forget the fond memories of my mom, Papa, and my Keka cousins. Camping in Papawai, Halepao, Alula, or as Papa would say, Alaula Bay. Papa Peter was a true gatherer of free fish and anything which the Kahakai provided. I feel very special to be gifted with one of his handmade suji throw nets. I greatly appreciate it, but living on Oahu, I hardly used it. So when I came to Kona in 2005, my nephew Richard Brakayave asked me to help him with an Alua tournament he entered in. And I said, shoot. So Richard and his family was camping down Halepao, and he needed bait to catch. So I told him, hey, use the net. His first throw, he got the net. It was nighttime. Just so happened a spot like we were at Halepao. So Papa Peter and the Keka Ohana played a big part in Halepao in the early days, now known as the Quinilio-Kalani Trust Foundation campsites. Papa Peter and the Keka Ohana built many of the rock structures that they repaired them and cleared all the upala brush, mangrove, as their respect to the makana to our kupuna. When Papa Peter and my uncles discovered all the Moilepo hippies living there, having no respect for our kupuna, they got evicted, Keka style. My mom, Tulia Keka, would always say, this area is Halepao, not Papawai. Papawai is the papa located at the end of the old Kona Airport runway. So since then, I gifted my net to Richard, and I'm sure he makes good use of it here in Kona today. So I know I'm going home with some fish. I live on Oahu, anyway. Okay, Papa's talents didn't stop there. For he also made his own kakele hooks for night holo holo for opelo and minpachi. Or what I would give for some fresh lomi opelo my mom made for Papa. I was smart back then, so I always helped clean fish. Then Mom would make one bowl for me too. And Kalamai, it was a very difficult fact-finding mission for me. When I was asked, well, actually I was told by Erlinda to eulogize Papa. But I said, I asked my honor, I do him anyway. If you really knew Papa, he was a man of very few words. He was very humble. If he shared more than 3 words with you, you were special to him. I was fortunate to have him share his mo'olelo with me. I recently found out that Papa worked on Oahu as a mason pohaku wall builder in the 60s for nearly 10 years. I was also informed that he and my uncle Zachary Kanuha and Philip Pai also worked with Papa for Sunara rock and sand masonry. I called Uncle Philip if he'd like to share one story. So I said, Uncle, share one story with me. So Uncle Philip Pai shared a story of what he and Papa Peter did while working on a job up the slopes of Waianae Range above Yokohama Bay. They were working on the drainage ditches by the radar towers at the military installation. Uncle Philip was on the backhoe operator. Papa was on the ground working. Papa standing by this large boulder. Then he told Uncle, "Should push the boulder." So both uncles being kolohe, Uncle Philip pushed the boulder, large boulder with the backhoe, and then they watched it disappear over the pali, skipping down a mountain slope. So they ran to the edge, and they saw the pohako shoot out, landing into the ocean in Yokohama Bay. Both uncles, fear of their supervisor seeing that happen, run away and hide. Luckily, back then, the beach area was isolated, not used by a lot of people. Not like today. If you go there today, the beaches are usually filled with military tourists and locals. Anyway, Uncle Zachary also shared a story with cousin Rolinda that when he was just out of high school, Colorado High School, he moved to Oahu and lived and got a job working with Papa. Papa told him that his kuleana was to make sure he cooked rice and bring rice to the site every day and help keep the holiday they were living at clean. Uncle Zach would do as Papa said and would leave in the morning for the job site in the morning. But Papa, after a hard night of Ino with Uncle Ipoke and the gang, arrived to work around 11 o'clock. Uncle Zach would not eat lunch until Papa arrived. And Uncle Zach would stay on the job with Papa until they completed the rock wall. So when they came there, the rock wall was 1/3 built. When they left, it was pow. And when they went after that, Ino again. Anyway, I remember Papa telling me that he worked on various hotels in Waikiki's Beach Walk area. I witnessed Papa and my uncle's work as I walk along the beach walk today. Anyway, when my children were young, as they were members of Kuniliukalani Children's Foundation, we would pack our kitchen from Honolulu, fly in from Oahu, and camp down Halipao. Papa would come to visit our camp and share his mo'olelo with my wife, explaining about the old fishing village there. And my mom would tell us about Papa's familiarization with the old trails that crisscross over the lava fields along the beach's King Trail. We also learned that he laid down the water pipes over the Pahoehoe lava, as it now provides solar heated water to shower while you're camping there. Papa and my uncles Joe Keka, along with Mauna Roy, also helped to restore Ahuena Heiau in Kailo Bay in the mid-70s. Papa and his brothers also built rock walls at Higashiara Park in Honolulu. And one of his first claim to fame was the wall he built at the old original Kentucky Fried Chicken along Ali'i Drive, soon to be called Habaneros, right across from Old Beach Boy Drive. He built many other rock walls around Kona, and many of you know, even bartered to pay his monthly rent with some of the walls he built. Today, we are all witness to Papa's final achievement here at Kaloko. Employed by the National Park since 1996, he was responsible for the restoration of the fish ponds here at Kaloko Honokahau and other cultural sites in the park. As quoted from the park's website, I share with you a few comments by staff members who worked along Papa over the years. And I quote, "He was a great teacher to learn from. He was a treasure. We were fortunate to have him as a lead mason. He was fulfilling what he wanted to do. As long as the park has funding, the Kaloko Pond wall will be maintained." When you think of Kaloko Pond, you think Uncle Peter. He worked on the wall as a kid, is synonymous with the pond. He was a good and talented man, always pleasant. His legacy will remain in each stone in the fish pond wall. His memory will last in the hearts and backs of everyone who lifts a stone and places it where it wants to be, unquote. Papa shared with my wife that these pohako were individually brought down from Mauka to fix this fish pond. He mentioned that the pohako spirit spoke to him. He knew where they were to be placed. When you walk on this wall, you will see how each rock is especially set to fit in. Our ancestors and our people know that when you work with pohako in sacred places, such as Kaloko, you're very special if you follow the correct protocols, and you will not get hurt. In the Hawaiian Airlines In-Flight magazine, November of 2005, a story was written by Liza Simons in The View with Papa. And I quote, "Peter Keka is too modest to come out and say it. But he must have known he was the right guy for the job when he was hired. to help restore Kaloko Honokaha National Park's massive loko'ia, which was originally constructed some 800 years ago at the bequest of the Li'i. Old-timers of Kona have told me that it's highly possible Papa's ancestors were the original crew. In the last century, Papa's grandfather, a skilled stoneworker, assumed responsibility for maintaining the loko'ia walls. Papa worked alongside until a ranching business bought the area and let the fish pond fall into disuse. Papa moved to Honolulu and parlayed all that he had learned into his life as a union mason. He never stopped thinking about Kaloko, where his family not only worked, fished, and camped, played slacky guitar, and talked story through the night by the campfire. And he remembered his grandfather's prediction that he would someday relearn to Maulama, the fish pond kuapa. In 2 years, Peter and his boys have built about 1/3 of the entire structure, which they intend to complete and make entirely functional, using little more than the same bare hands used by their ancestors, o kopuna. Ted Gardigue, an enthusiastic visitor to the Kaloko site, says he is impressed by the stasis and dynamics of the dry stack masonry here. This is real architecture, thoughtfully designed to be flexible enough to withstand the stress of water and wind and still retain its discrete shape. The puka are purposely created to absorb wave energy from the outside, as well as to filter and exonerate the pond. I couldn't resist asking the 67-year-old Keka what he thought his ancestors would make of the admiring reviews directed at their building skills. He agrees they knew how to use what was at hand, and they were aware of building material in their environment, that the bond could be termed spiritual. Papa was quoted, nowadays, this is Papa speaking now, but nowadays, we're different. Our society is too much in a rush. We want productivity, not spirituality, he says. I am curious to know if his grandfather left him with words of wisdom about his chosen profession. A wry smile spreads across his face, and he answers. He just always said, son, in this life, you gotta work like hell, or you're gonna starve. So he taps his fingers on his temple. You just have to put your mind over matter and work from here, he says. How do you know which rock to put where? Same as you when you write, and I read what you've written. I'm going to be asking, says, how do you know which word to use and where to put it? But you did it because it's in your imagination. Same with me. This is what's in my imagination, and this is what's in my blood. Papa and his brothers, Uncle Joe, Uncle Ata Keka, are the finest pohaku craftsmen I know, with knowledge passed down from their tutu and their papa. They have very strong ethic instilled in their pu'uvai as mason rock wall builders. And now, as I know, carrying on the Keka legacy are my cousin Jay Keka. And I've seen cousin Joe came in from the mainland. Aloha, Joe. Joseph. In 1993, Papa was diagnosed with throat cancer. He flew to Honolulu and stayed briefly with us on one of his treatment surgeries. He and my wife's dad talked story about the stone walls my father-in-law built and about the cancer. My father-in-law also survived throat cancer. Yes, Papa survived 20 years after being diagnosed with throat cancer, as he communicated through a trachea in his throat. Thus his trademark, towel draped over his neck. 73-year-old Papa passed away peacefully in Kailo Kona, Hawaii, early in the morning on Tuesday, December 10th, 2013, at his residence with his caregiver and the Genevieve Medeiros. Papa was born in Waikiki, Hawaii on October 9th, 1940. His family also resided for years in the Kalaua Kohanaiki, Honokohau vicinity. Papa traveled up and down the Kekaha region and fished all O'oma neighboring coastal beaches. He was also a member of the Kona Horseshoe Pitching Club, Kona Bowling League, Queen Liliuokalani Children's Center, Kaiopua and Queen Liliuokalani Canoe Clubs, and the Masonry Union. In Papa's later years, he truly loved, enjoyed caring for his daughter Kim's children, his mopuna, Pekelo, Pumihana, and Kapua. Papa and Tutu really love you folks. I am happy to have been in his company during his lifetime. But most of all, we will always remember the kupuna who brought life back to Kaloko. Peter, kuiuku keka. Paola and I want to express our deepest appreciation to everyone for coming to share today, spending time with us. Please join us for mia'ai and fellowship as we close the program. And his cousin Rolinda will come up here and be the boss again.
Wow, I didn't know he had that kind of talent to do research like that. Wow, that was amazing. Woohoo. Huh? Oh, the wife did them. Okay. The better half. But Ken, mahalo, that was awesome sharing about Uncle Peter and all of his stories. But most important was his grandchildren, all of them. My experience with Uncle Peter is all the boys had the cracks, you know, and all the boys would go, oh, Uncle Peter, oh, Uncle Peter. Because, you know, there was kolohe, so he wouldn't hold back and he would correct them and crack them. But on the other hand, for my experience was, you know, I always watched and I saw everybody used to get lickings and scoldings from him and all that. And the wonderful thing was I used to pay attention and goes, check if Uncle's looking. If he's not looking, then make kolohe. If he is looking, then behave. But he took good care of his girls. He loved all the girls, his grandchildren. At this time, I'd like to introduce a special guest speaker, Jerry Bell. She's retired superintendent here throughout the coast for the national park. And I just wanted to say that and share something that Uncle Peter thought fondly of Jerry as being the superintendent for the national park, and she was his favorite boss. And he would say something. He would always say, "Good boss, when we used to come down here," and say, "Uncle, it's okay if you dry your fish while you're working." I get good boss. As long as I give him fish, I get good boss. But anyways, Uncle Peter, if you folks didn't know him, when he came to work, his fish box was full with opelu. And so he was killing two birds with one stone. He was drying fish and working at the same time. But without any further ado, Jerry Bell.
Well, she kind of stole my thunder because I have that on my list. Anyway, my association with Peter goes way back. When I was living on Oahu in Honolulu, my nephew had this beautiful, wonderful girlfriend. And they went together for quite a while. I thought maybe they would get married, but they didn't. And her name was Kimberly Bean. And so I moved here, lost contact with Kim. I moved here and then ran into her. She was married, had 2 children, and standing next to her was Peter Keka. And she introduced him to me as her dad. So the association started a while back. Peter, as you heard and read, was very unique because of his throat cancer. His communication was body language and gestures. It took over 10 years to build the Kaloko Fish Pond Wall. And if you work for any government, whether it's the federal, the state, or the county, things don't move fast. They move very slow. It was either in 1997 or 98. The construction of the wall began with a $50,000 grant from the National Park Service. Now, that's not much money to try to restore a wall like this. The following year came another $50,000 so that we could at least have a worker or two to continue the work that was started. And when they started, you know, the National Park Service, in all its infinite wisdom, wanted to do it the way it was done. You know, no machinery, all the work done on the backs of laborers. We found it real quick. You know, we had to use machinery in order to get this project moving. And again, trying to seek funding from the two grants, from the office, substantial grants actually, from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And then to get permanent funding in our budget. I need to say, give a big mahalo to Mike Borges, who was the former chief of maintenance here at the park, who found Peter, and through the maze of the federal government hiring process, Peter was hired as a permanent employee here at the park. So a big mahalo to Mike. Mike has moved on to Las Vegas. And as you all know, Peter was a man of few words, understandably so. But under his direction, the folks that work here, the men, I don't think we had any wahinis working on this wall, transformed this masterpiece here from rubble to what it is today. And yes, every winter, the huge swells take part of the wall, but that's how the wall was built. That's how the Hawaiians kept the fish pond going. And for the people that are here now, that's job security. Because every year they got to fix the wall. You know, Peter, in his own way, he was kolohe. Rolinda, well, I'm going to back up a bit. Well, Rolinda mentioned, yeah, and he did give me dried fish, but that dog bug, I didn't know he was drying them down here. And you know, that's on government time. And then also this, you know, he took care of his grandchildren, particularly fond of Kim's children. And every once in a while, down here would be transformed to a daycare center.